Warm greetings and welcome to today's edition of the African Leadership Group, the Nigerian Leadership Series. My name is Itwa Igodalo, and I'm very, very pleased and very happy to be here with you today at this day's meeting. Thank you so much for joining. And today we'll be having an open microphone where we want to hear. From time to time, we have an open mic, people's opinions as to exactly what is going on in Nigeria today. Today is the 7th day of March. I beg your pardon. Jesus, March already. 7th day of March, the year Lord 2024. Okay, this government came in about 8 months ago now. May, June, July, August, October, November, January, February, March, 9 months ago of this new administration. So what are the things we're going to be doing in this conversation? Nigeria, the conversation. What are the things we're going to be doing? Number one, we're going to be looking at where Nigeria is. And I'm going to be asking people to tell me, based on their own opinion, as to where our great country, Nigeria, is. Number two, we had a gentleman here last week. His name was Professor Joe Ezigbo, the chairman of, I beg your pardon, the MD. I'm the chairman, the MD of Falcon Corporation. Okay, and he spoke very, very passionately about Nigeria, the situation with Nigeria, where Nigeria is, the challenges of Nigeria, and the general things that are going on in Nigeria according to his own opinion. Okay, one of the things we got out of that meeting, was the situation with the civil war. The gentleman had fought in the Nigerian civil war, and he explained to us what they did and how things were, and especially based on the fact that a lot of technological breakthroughs that were available for Nigeria and to Nigeria at that time was not taken advantage of. That the Biafran side, if I may call them that, the Easterners, they, out of necessity, were able to develop quite a lot of things in terms of ammunition, in terms of technology, even in terms of petroleum manufacture, which the federal government of Nigeria didn't encourage or support for whatever reason. And he feels that that has slowed us down technologically. Not only that, he also spoke about the various problems of Nigeria, the problems of corruption, the problems of leadership, the problems of making Nigeria what it should be, the problems of not having enough sincerity, and so on and so forth. So we'll be looking at that also at this session. Okay. There's also been this conversation around the Constitution and what the legislative arm of government should do vis-a-vis the Constitution, the cost of governance, and all that. And then, of course, the economy. The economy. Everywhere you go, the economy is extraordinary. The rate of inflation is almost unbearable. And now people are beginning to think what exactly is going on and what do we need to do. And then we want to look at the issue of healing. Okay, based on the description of Professor Ezigbo last week, and the fact that a lot of sectors and sections of Nigeria, there's skirmishes, there's fear, there's anxiety, there's rivalry, there's competition, there's bitterness, and there's some people who feel marginalized and virtually badly treated. And how do we sort this matter out and bring about healing and reconciliation and various peace initiatives in Nigeria? So that's the open mic session that we're trying to have today. Conversations around the topic. I will be asking a few people for their opinion, and if at any stage you desire to chip in or you want to ask a question, make a contribution, please, you will up your hands electronically, and we will try and notice, and we will call you. Of the government today, about 9 months after they've been in government, what do we think? How are people feeling? And what is the direction? Number 2, a recap of last week's program from 2 dimensions, the healing process for Nigeria. People went through challenges of the Civil War or any other kind of thing, and also the various challenges that were highlighted about our economy. Okay, about the economy. And then number 4, just a general look at the economy of Nigeria, where we are, which way we're going, the challenges that we're having, and what exactly to do. So to kick off this conversation today, I will take the liberty to call on anybody and ask them a few questions. So let me call on Professor Duro Simieti. I hope he's listening, for him to unmute himself and tell us if he has any contributions and conversation, what he thinks.
Thank you, Pastor.
The state of our economy is, and how are we faring?
Hello, Pastor. The line is so bad.
New administration. Professional achievements to make.
Oh my goodness. The line is so bad.
Please unmute yourself.
I've done that. The line is so bad.
The line is bad. It's a bit faint. We can't hear you very well.
The line is bad. I can hardly hear what you said too.
You didn't hear what I said?
No, I can hear you now. Can you repeat yourself, please? I couldn't hear you properly first when I just came on. I just came on and then you mentioned my name. I heard my name. Please, can you repeat the question?
I was telling you that you are going to post a check of $1 billion.
$1 billion. The line is going to get over.
You refused to hear what I said.
Let me move.
I said I was just telling them that.
What's happening? I don't know, Kai. I've moved again. I can't hear you. Oh my goodness. Hello.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, now. Yeah, go.
Hello, Prof.
I can hear you now. It's better now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
I can hear you now.
Yes, very good. I was just telling them that you are going to write a check of $1 billion. That's where your name came in.
Amen.
Amen. Your laughter never changes, bro. Very reassuring laughter.
Honestly, I accept that. You are praying for me now. The man of God prayed for you. So what was your question, original question?
I'm really praying for you.
Amen. I accept it any day.
Yes, I was saying that 9 months after this administration, can promises come and so on and so forth. How do you see? What do you think? Are expectations being met? What do you think the issues are? And what do you think about how well the administration has done?
I don't know. I don't think I have any comments at this point in time. Maybe later on,
okay.
when I see the trend, And when this thing flows proper. Hello.
Yeah, okay. I can
Maybe
I
later.
can well
I
understand
just
that.
can't. Yeah. Okay.
I
So
can well
thank you for
understand
now.
that. But yeah, I can well understand that, Prof. Yeah, I can well
Okay.
understand that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Can
thank
I
you.
call Mr. Ralph Bello Fadile? Can speak to that question. But Prof, I'm going to come back to you on the issue of what do we need to do. Maybe you can even take that right now, if you have any opinion. What do we need to do about the various challenges in Nigeria? Herdsmen, Fulani herdsmen clashes, all the challenges in Jos, various people attacking various people. There seems to be a lack of peace, safety, and security in Nigeria. What are your thoughts about that, if any?
Please unmute yourself, sir. Dr. Fadile, please unmute yourself. You're muted.
Yes, as I say, is the pastor asking me that question?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my position has always been shortage of manpower, period. The manpower, the personnel we have cannot cope with the criminality that is going around the country. That's just the fact. So there's no amount of talking or debating or what we do. You need people on the ground. We don't have enough. From what I'm reading and from what I'm hearing, they do not have enough manpower to meet the criminality that is ongoing on. On the other hand, they do not have the facility to cope, for example, with investigation, with arrest and prosecution. Those are the basic things that need to be put in place. You need more manpower. That's my thought. And without those things being sorted out, all other things cannot be right. Because it's like a chain. Once that one is broken, that security aspect is the weakest link, like they say, the weakest link in the system. And unless you correct the weakest link by providing more manpower, I don't see how it can work. You may have all the equipment, but you need people to use them. You need information from the fields. You need everybody from local government, state, and federal to do their part and supply information to those people that will take action, not just any information, credible information that will be analyzed and actionable intelligence are gotten and passed on to who needs to work, who need to do it, where are the personnel to do it. That's what I can say.
What do we do about personnel? How do we ensure we have the right kind of personnel?
Recruitment and proper screening on those who join the forces. Recruitment. There are a lot of people going about doing nothing. You can create jobs for them. Get them recruited, get them engaged. That's another way of it. Those are two fronts, actually. When you get them recruited, you cut off the market for the bad guys to recruit from. That's number one. And then the people you screen and recruit will now have a job to do, particularly in the local government area. Because the crime is not at the federal, it's at the local government area that you need to work. For instance, look at the agreement by Niger State and Lagos State. It's going to get a lot of people out of the market for the bad people in Niger State. Those are the kind of things you need to do. A lot of people who otherwise would go criminal now see opportunity to work in the farm and get paid. Then those who are not working in the farm and get paid are being recruited into the security forces after proper screening. Because you have a lot of radicals that have not been de-radicalized, getting into the force and compounding the work of the forces and betraying them, sharing information, double agent. So that's it's not just recruit anybody. Anybody that has been on the other side, you have to de-radicalize him and bring in a new narrative, create a new narrative for them that is in their best interest to get rid of the criminals. I keep telling them, calling them criminals. That's what I think they are. Kidnapping is all over the places. Terrorism, acts of terrorism. Actually, what is their goal? When you talk about terrorism, what is the end game for them in Nigeria that you call them terrorists? They are criminals. They are criminal. If it is religious, they are killing Muslims. They are killing their fellow Muslims. So you cannot say it's religion. Bottom line, manpower. Shut up the market for recruitment, de-radicalization, and create a new narrative.
Who will build this card, and how easy is it to?
Well, that's the question everybody is saying. Who is going to build the card? Who is going to do the first thing? It has to start from me and you. What are you saying? What are you sharing? What are you sharing? What are you telling your representative? What are you telling your chairman? The local government chairman, what are you telling him? What are you sharing with him? How are you putting pressure on the traditional rulers? Not to be a politician, but to be guardians of the culture and habits of the people. Those are the background that you have to start from. But everybody is blaming President although he gave them a job too. That 9 months is not enough to assess him. And if you want to try, wait for me in 2027. So we need to start from home. Like they say, charity begins at home. What are we telling our councillors, our chairmen, our traditional rulers? Are you passing the information? In those days, anybody that enters Kaba, somebody will go and tell the Obaru, the stranger has come, he's staying in this place. They monitor and report to the police. Are we doing such now? Back to basics, actually. So that's why I say it begins from me and you. What are you telling your people? We can't fold our hands and be doing workshops and talking, and nobody is taking action to be seen that this man is working. Let me emulate what they are doing in Kaba, local government. That's the way I see who bears the cart. Me and you. Somebody has to start. We have to start somewhere, and then the example, and get the press, the civil society. That still, if you still have anything like that.
Okay, but what do you think of the economy and the state of the Nigerian nation at this point in time, and an evaluation of this present administration?
I do not want to judge a government based on what newspapers say, because the newspaper reacts depending on which side they are. I am not on ground. I do not see. I read, and I'm very skeptical of reading newspapers. Everybody painting their own side of the story. So I do not generally comment on what newspapers say. I do not have direct access or verifiable sources on what the paper says. Today, was it yesterday, they said the central bank is selling dollars direct to Beirut exchange people. And so the exchange rate has come down. The day before, they say it's Binance that is determining the exchange rates. That Binance is going to pay 10 billion. Then the strategy man said, no, he didn't say they're going to pay 10 billion. So where do I go? So I do not generally comment on what the paper says, unless I can verify information and say it. But for the security, I say, yes, I can. What I've said, I stand by it. I can verify it. I've been on ground and I know what is going on. I say release with my friends and colleagues who are there in the defense sector, the security sector. That I can say. On the economy, I cannot say. Nobody can properly say what is going on, unless we are there with them. Because if you are not with the government, you say a different thing. If you are with government, you say, okay, the government says Barnes is going to pay $10 billion fine. Then when they ask, the people say they are not paying anything. Oh, the man said, oh yeah, he didn't say they're going to pay 10 billion. He said they are working on penalty. It may not be up to 10 billion. So now where do you start from there? And then Barnes has not done anything. The price has come down. So it is not Barnes that is determining the exchange rate. It is the supply of dollars that determines the rate. And we've seen what central bank is doing, selling directly to the Bureau change at 1,300 or so, whatever they say. And it's now 1,500 from 1,900 or thereabout. So those are the things that you need to be careful of when you talk or say anything. And I'm very conscious of what I say because of my antecedent.
You have opened the honestness a little bit. You spoke about your antecedents. What is this antecedents and what are the issues?
It is what I can verify. But the BBC, he's talked to BBC. BBC said this is what you say. No, BBC misquoted him. That's why I'm saying it. There is a challenge. The Benin people say, no, there was nothing like 10,000 billion. I mean, $10 billion. And then the man said, tell BBC misquoted him. That's why I'm commenting on that. So those are the things I can talk about that we can verify. Yes, not what the papers, different social media people, everybody's saying different things. And then, but unless we have the love of our country and are ready to make our own sacrifice in a little way by saying the truth is the one that can actually help us out.
But you've been a player in the Nigerian system in the past. You've been part of government to some extent, part of the military. You've seen the trajectory of Nigeria, where we've gone up, where we've gone down. No, I'm not. What do you think went wrong with Nigeria? And now that we're where we are, what do you think we should do to go forward? And you've also been part of politics to some extent. So you're a man of rich history, rich background, rich diversity in Nigeria. It would be nice to use this opportunity to even take your opinion.
Yeah, like always, unless we tell ourselves the truth, we can never move forward. That is basically 2015. I was there telling the truth that this is what is going on with the election that Jega was reading, the result he was reading. It became a problem for saying this is, and at the end of the day, we now discover that yes, because then they were shouting anybody but Jonathan. But we knew the truth that no, this election was not won by Buhari. I said it. I had that statistic. I showed them there during the coalition center. I became a target. I was accused, oh, this is the same guy that did this, that did that, he's back again. You know, I was put under house arrest. I had to find my way out. And at the end of the day, the same Jega was the one telling us these people are not supposed to be there, but you put them in there. So we need to tell ourselves the truth. Unless we start doing that, if the situation is bad, let's say it is bad. And these are the things we need.
Are you sure that election, Buhari didn't win that election? Is that what you're saying?
Why?
You are muted. Prof, sorry.
Prof, please unmute yourself, sir. You are muted.
No, that is in our history now. Everybody now know that the government in place wasn't the proper, didn't do well. It did worse than what they were accusing Jonathan of, or us of, because I was part of that government for a good part of 3 years plus. That is if you go through the statistic, it didn't happen. But then the court has spoken, and as a lawyer, if the court says this is it, I accept it. I can't question that. Whatever we say now is academics, because I can't change what has happened. But it was faulty. There's no doubt about it. I was a consultant to INEC for several years before I joined government. And so I had my fact then. I had the statistic. So whatever we're saying now is academic. But from now forward, let's speak the truth to ourselves. Let's say it as it is. You know, even if it's painful, pretending wouldn't help. Pretending won't take us anywhere. And people who tell lies, at the end of the day, the truth will prevail. You know that as a pastor, the teaching is, no matter how deep the lie is, the truth will always prevail. The truth is like a smoke. You can't hide it. It will come out. It will come out.
So who are those behind making sure that INEC tampered with the results?
Pastor,
So that
it is academic.
Yeah.
It is now history. It is academic.
Uh-huh.
Yes. As a matter of fact, the election was not supposed to hold because there was a judgment against INEC for conducting the election. Was not supposed to hold. And I know the part I played. Jega is there. You can ask what did Dr. Bello Fadele did to make sure that the election held. Then if I make the election to hold, then why should I now sabotage it? We have court judgment restraining INEC from carrying on with the election. For 2015.
So how come INEC was able to carry on with that election?
Yeah, there's a court injunction that I cannot because the system we wanted to use was a patent item. The card reader was patent, and it didn't have the authority of the owner to use the patent. And the court gave injunction that you cannot conduct election with this your card reader because it is patent and the patent has come to court. You didn't get clearance, you were not ready to pay the money, and they gave instruction, 2 judgments as a matter of fact, restraining INEC from doing it. We have to find a way around it. So if I can do that, then why will I now sabotage it and then say it is not correct? But the facts are there. So like I said, these are history. Yes, we want to learn from past to go forward, and that is what I'm saying. We need to speak the truth to ourselves. Unless we start.
Go ahead, sir. Yeah.
Unless we start doing that, we're not going to go anywhere. We'll just be deceiving ourselves.
Yeah.
Aside you are government or no government, as individual. That's you are forced me to speak about politics, which I don't want to do. I'm more concerned about the security. So that is who I am. That's where it is.
Well, we'll come back to that. I'll just take one more question from you, and then maybe go to Mr. Stephen Enada, who is all the way in Atlanta, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about his opinion on both security and the economy. You rather talk about security. I'll come back to you on that. But let me ask you one more question before I go to Steve, so that he's on alert. Let me ask you one more question. Kai, the question is going off my head now. What then do we do, in your opinion, to rectify the electoral process that we have in Nigeria now that keeps seeming permeated, maybe for want of a better word, influenced, and it doesn't seem to be giving us the real will of the people? How can we ensure we have an electoral process that gives us free and fair results all the time?
Yeah, we have the Justice Uwais report that's unbounded INEC. That's all you need to do, unbounding. Take the hand of government out of electing the national commissioner, and then the resident electoral commissioner, set up a party. We have not advanced to the stage where each state or local government conduct their own election that is done here in America. No, what we have, fine. Who are the people in charge? Who appoints them? Who pays the piper dictates the tune, as they used to say? So unbundle, like whatever word you want to use, of INEC, like Justice Uwais said, the report is there. Is the way out.
How would you do that?
Say that.
How would you make INEC totally independent? What do you do? What are the
Talking of total? There's in a federal state, there's nobody that is totally independent. We just got separation of power. No, there's no total independence. They are all interlinked in the appointment. That's what I'm saying. Who appoints the members? The 12 national commissioners and the 36 plus 1 resident electoral commissioner. Who appoints them? That's the key point of Justice Uwais' recommendation in his report.
So who was Justice Uwais recommending that should appoint them?
If you set up a body.
Okay.
Yes, that's what he says. Set up a body that will screen and appoint, nominate them. They go to the National Assembly and not rubber stamping like the National Assembly does. Like I said, each person has a role to play.
Who will set up the body?
But they should not rubber stamp them. Remember,
who will set up the body? Who will set up the body?
By election. Who is interested? Yes, who is interested? You say, okay, from this zone, we want 2 people from this zone, 2 from they gather together, vote and put in their own man that will represent them from each zone. I can't remember the details of how it will be done, but it's something like election from each zone. The 6th zone, maybe 2-2-2-2, which is what is happening now. Elect 2-2 from your zone. And then you have each zone has a representative at INEC National Commissioner. There's no doubt, but they are appointed by the president and confirmed by the National Assembly. But if each zone, you gather together the 6 states, 7 states, okay, this is the person we want to, who are interested in proving integrity, not just anyhow, properly screened, you know their background, then you elect them, then they are clear by the National Assembly, and then they form that body. All we need to do is amend the Constitution, who appoints them on the schedule, change it. That's what Justice Uwais, and that's what we have been denied. We are all human beings, and the Nigerian situation is not that you can get somebody who appoints you and say, Bello, can you help this? And Bello is a strong person. You say, okay, sir. But at the end of the day, you will still remember, this man give me food to chop. Should I disappoint him? We haven't gotten that strange, that level. But that's what Justice Uwais says. That's the first step. That's the first step. And then it's now, you want a job. You want a job? Okay, put in your paper. We'll screen you, we advertise. Like the lawyers are appointed for senior advocate after passing the preliminary, there is published. Do you have anything against this individual that should not be made senior advocate of Nigeria? Or do you have anything against this individual that should not be made the judge? Then everybody has to comment. You put Bello, okay, fine. But it's a partisan, it's not partisan. It's with this, it's not with it. That is how it is done. But unfortunately, even the Constitution says you must belong to a political party. If you check the screening, you must be able to vote. And to vote, you must be sponsored by a political party. So there are a lot of things that need to be sorted out. That from my knowledge, I can say that categorically. So that's the starting point. Who appoints the people? You must come out with your credentials. I want to be a national. I want to be a resident electoral commissioner. These are my portfolio. You screen, and then the National Assembly does a proper job, not bow and go, as we are seeing. So everybody has a fault. It's not just tied to the president appointing, but the person who is screening.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr.
Yeah, you are welcome.
Thank you. We're going to come back to you because I think you have a reservoir of knowledge. And maybe Oduk will work out with you when you come and talk exclusively on security and give us a security roadmap on Nigeria.
Like I was telling you, okay, I have a lot of my boys who are there on the ground who have practical experience. Tony, I gave her Tony's number. Tony is ready to talk to you. The boy is on the ground. He has been on the ground, and he retired as a major general heading the crisis in Jos. So it's available. I have a lot of them that can talk to you. I have General Seriki Yaki Bello, who was with the militant in the River State and is working with is there. He can talk to you. You can also actually get the National Security Advisor to come and talk to you also.
And you arrange for us to get the National Security Advisor on the platform.
Why can't you can get him, write formally to him? He is the boss. He can talk to you. Why not? So there's
Okay.
when you're
All right,
searching
no problem.
for a solution, you don't limit it to one person or one individual that you know. You exploit. Send him a note. The people want to hear from you what you are doing about our nation. We're all stakeholders.
Okay, I will do that.
Thank you, sir.
I will do that. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is Mr. Enada there? Stephen Enada, Pastor Stephen Enada? If you are there, please unmute yourself and let's speak to this issue of your evaluation of the current government this last 9 months. Stephen Enada, please, is he still there?
Yes, sir.
Oh, Pastor Steve, long time. Happy New Year.
Same to you, sir. It's my privilege and opportunity to be here and to meet with all of you. And thanks to Pastor Itua for everything you do. And then my Oga, Dr. Bello Fadile had spoken. If I have any opportunity to talk with him, I will definitely try to let him see some reasons why he has to do much more than what he has proposed, because I know he has a lot of experience to help our situation. Now, if I'm going to talk about so far so good in the 9 years of President Tinubu, honestly, there is no statistical significance of program, project, government evaluation that anybody can use currently. Because when you have a government that is 9 months old and you are going to analyze or carry out any assessment, you will not actually have the metrics that will help you to carry out legitimate assessment. And for the reason of not sounding political, because when you sound political, it will be like maybe you belong to a political establishment, but we know Nigerians are suffering. The economic indices show that Nigerians are suffering currently. Now, I would like to position it from the perspective of the global trajectory, namely that, one, African leaders, Nigerian leaders, forever are lazy, and maybe because they have their own idea of how they want to run their government, they have really positioned Africa in that position that you can say, like, maybe they are like a servant to it's like slave servant mentality for our leaders. And let me just say that because, like, you will know maybe Pastor Itua a little, but especially Dr. Fadile will attest to that. From my engagement, I would like to say, one, there are indicators and there are many things that any nation of the world can do to compete. Nigeria is not competitive, even with her natural resources, human resources. They've not positioned our people, our country to compete. And that is the reason why everybody will be like talking about what is happening. Let me just give simple example. Ukraine, by every reason, is less than Nigeria. statistically, put it in any dimension. Israel, well, for people who would go on biblical reason, is actually not doing well in the sense of other economic or human rights obligations than Nigeria as well. But why is it that when anything happens to European country, to to European country versus African countries, it's like every media house will just go to begin to mention, oh, Israel, Palestinian crisis, Russian Ukraine crisis. And we have thousands and thousands of Nigerians that have been killed in the last 10 years. But the global silence, and you can't blame anybody. We have ourselves to blame. And the reason I'm just trying to raise this now is because everything, when you talk about security issues and all of those things, it impacts development, economic development. Now, let me just try to reduce my conversation here to 3 things. One, Nigeria leaders, even if you give it to Peter Obi, to Atiku, now Tinubu, or to whoever, they will not succeed. And the reason why they will not succeed is, one, they have not positioned our people for competition, for provision of values. Now, let me just give you an example of what I'm trying to say. OECD, the country that most people will like Peru, and the reason why I'm just going like this is to just let us know why there are international disincentives, investment disincentive, and investment incentives. If you see Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, Peru was not even part of it 15 years ago. But what did Peru do? Peru is actually a country that is susceptible to what we call epicenter of earthquakes and the rest. But what did Peru do? The Peru government said that, no, you see, we are like not a great country when it comes to economic advantage. But what did they do? They just went into insurance. And what did they do? They just internationalized the risk in insurance. And if any country, either US or any country around the world, is buying into their insurance, then they share the risk. Economists understand that. What are we doing for our country, Nigeria? Nothing. So when it comes to security, that is what actually obtains. The question now is, we have Boko Haram, Fulani militant, we have ISIS, and then you look at what is happening in Mozambique. This is Islamic ascendancy. The radical Islamists are there. How has Nigeria government over the years make Nigeria's security an international concern? Because whether you like it or not, Dr. Bello Fadile was talking about lack of manpower. If you recruit 3 million or 50 million Nigerians into Nigeria army, they will actually not succeed. And the reason is because we have not adequately internationalized our security concern, because the issue of terrorism cannot be won by just a single country. So, and that affects our foreign direct investment. So how can Nigeria survive? So the question now is that nobody is asking America or asking UK to come and fight our battle. But the truth of the matter is that terrorism is funded and it impacts economic development. It's supported and there are people behind it. So it comes to international security instruments to combat that. You begin to see even terrorists are going to IDP camps to smuggle, abduct women. And the economic advantage of women being abducted in Nigeria, which actually affect our economy, is also that they are feeding into transnational sexual trafficking cartel, which is over $35 billion annually. So for other cartels who are into sex trafficking, which impact economy of any nation, they are now looking at Nigeria as an ungoverned territory. So for any government to succeed economically, security-wise, you have to internationalize every aspect of your economy. So I think we just need to be realistic, and we need, like Dr. Fadile said, we need to tell each other or ourselves the truth. And the truth is that if you want Nigeria to work, you have to begin to look at the components of what has made other countries to work.
So, Pastor Neda, quickly, thank you for giving us a little background. But if you want to summarize action points of what we need to do, I think every one of us, we can spend the next 5 hours talking about all the issues, but we're not looking for resolutions and how we move forward. What are the building blocks that we can start to lay now for that Nigeria that we're looking for? So based on your experience and the work you do, if you can just summarize that for us, maybe in like 2 minutes, we would really appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sister Jumoke. It is actually going to be citizen engagement, because citizen doesn't, the truth of the matter is that my recommendation in all of this is that the reason why I escalated on that is because Nigeria is a huge and great country, and that is what all of us are clamoring for. So what will happen is that Nigeria is not about to get Nigeria to where it should be. It's not about a 4-year agenda, and it's not without any specific or strategic platform, because it's not going to be until you wait until 2026, 2027 to talk about the next election. You have to actually reform INEC now, or there will be another 40 election in 2027. And that comes by citizen education. It comes by also making sure international instruments that coordinate and make sure that election is free and fair is being engaged, not in election year. It applies to security, it applies to economy, and all I'm just saying is that we should internationalize, not necessarily that Nigeria is less, but make sure we come together and begin to say XYZ does this and that. Without that, it is going to be all talk.
Okay. Thank you. So we'll follow up with you on that strategic roadmap of how we can begin to work together collaboratively, whether it's through the citizens. As you know, we have a citizens responsibility course, and that ALG has rolled out last year, and we're starting the campaign under the leadership of Pastor Tayo. He's heading Solaj. So we would be really looking for more information and for collaboration on starting this campaign. So that's one thing that maybe we'll follow up with you on, this roadmap that you talked about, how to engage citizens, how to reform INEC. You may not have the mechanism to do so, but if we have a recommendation, that's a position statement that we can begin to push. So can we count on you to work on that, so that it's not, we have something that clearly shows a plan of action to get us out of this hole that we're in and to stop the bleeding, as I always say. So thank you for your comments. If you don't have anything else, maybe hand over to Pastor Itua. Pastor Neda, are you?
Thank you very much, Pastor Neda. We appreciate all those comments and all that. I want to maybe take on Bola Adetula. Your hand is up. Let me hear, do you have a question or a comment very quickly before I invite somebody else to make some comments?
Thank you very much, Pastor Itua. I want to go back to the first speaker, I don't know whether he's a professor or just ordinary, anyway, the first speaker, he mentioned something about shortage of manpower. I will want to disagree a little bit. We are blessed in this country called Nigeria. The only problem I have is that this manpower you are talking about, they are technocrats, they are professionals in their own right. They are not politicians. They have no way of getting to these people at the top. The non-professionals are the politicians who will get all these jobs and they will not perform. So how do we convince them to look out for these technocrats? That is that. Number two, Senegal, in the president's office, there is an able-bodied human being there. What is his job? To scout around the whole world, looking for vacancies, and then report back, look for people in his country to fill such, and then the government will assist that person in getting the international job. Let me put it to you, sir. Every Nigerian you find outside working, I'm not talking of those who jackpot, I'm talking of those who work for the international organizations or the continental one like the AU, ECHO, and so on. They got those appointments on their own merit, not through any sponsorship by the government, and the government will not even support them when they are there. So that is what I want to take you up on. My last comment is for Jumoke. We are not able to chat. I would have put all my questions, but I read you are talking about hackers. How do we solve the problem of hackers? They took over my account in January. My password, my SIM card is passworded, and I have 2-step verification. What else do you want me to do? There's a syndicate now of the hackers, the staff of service provider companies, and the banks. So how do we resolve this problem? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Those are two very, very good questions. I don't know if there's anybody on the platform. Well, Jumoke, the question of hackers goes to you. And I think it was Dr. Fajiri that was talking about shortage of manpower. I don't know if he's still on the platform and he wants to respond to that question before Jumoke talks about hackers.
Yeah, he stepped away for a minute. Okay. I don't see him on. So I don't know I don't know that I have the expertise to talk on hackers. So on NLS, on this platform, we do put a notice out there when people enter with like the name of a device, like a Zoom user, Samsung, Galaxy, we ask them to rename themselves. So this is one way of curbing hackers. We've had hackers in the past, and so this is how we monitor them. So that's why we do advise people to please rename themselves so that we know that it's real people that are joining us and not hackers. So if there's someone that has technological expertise or cybersecurity to speak on hackers, they could do that. But I don't know that I'm the one that can speak on that. Maybe. Okay.
Okay, that's fair enough. Alex Rije also has his hand up. He wants to ask a question or make a comment. Alex, please.
Good afternoon, sir. My question to Dr. Billy, if I'm not mistaken. I'm looking at he said we don't have security manpower security or something like that. I'm just wondering, it looked like because the way the system was running in Nigeria is quite personally embarrassing, because if we have a state police, which I believe it will work better than what we have right now, because state police can, they will be able to know their constituency in and out everywhere, and these people can work, with people, with government, the state government, and everything like that. I think what we need to do, if they can approve that, what the bill, I think they have debate that's going on in the National Assembly. I don't even know about something like that. But if they can approve it before the end of this year, so that each state can have their own police and they can monitor whatever they can monitor in that area, I think that will reduce the problem we have right now. That's my comment, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for those comments. Thank you indeed. Let me ask Oluyinka Oyeniji to make his comments on this issue of state police and what he thinks. Oyinka is one of our guests on a consistent basis here, as a lawyer and a politician. Please make your comments on state police.
Good evening, everyone. Interesting times in Nigeria. I was going to, if we were able to chat, I was also going to inform that news from Kaduna State says students of a school, about 100 have just been kidnapped today. And I was afraid to read it when I saw that headline, but it reminds me of the Chibok girls. It will appear that every time we try to offer a solution to the problem in Nigeria, we get to a state of fait accompli, which is that we may not be able to find a solution at the moment. And I don't like, we say in law that equity does not do anything in vain. So I don't like to get to a situation where it seems like there's no solution. Regarding state police, personally, I don't think it will solve anything because we already have a replica of state police all over the nation. We have the Nigerian Civil Defense Corps, which is closer to grassroots. In Lagos State, I'm sure that we have Neighborhood Watch. In the Southwest Nigeria, we have Amotekun. In some parts of the North, we have Vigilante. In South, we have those we even call militants, who did them. We have empowered now people who should be made to answer for crimes. It's only in Nigeria that I see that you become, when you are committing crime, you become so powerful so that you will be accepted for who you are. I want to make responsible comments on this platform. But those who call themselves former militants and they say they granted them amnesty, they say somebody is negotiating on behalf of bandits, they say you are decriminalizing former Boko Haram members. I think that when we refuse to allow the law to work, to punish, then we are shredding the fabric of peace or security in the society. I'll give you an example, and I'll speak to Lagos that I know very well. If we are going to have state police in Lagos, I bet it that MC Oluomo will possibly be the commissioner of police. Already at the moment, he's got several appointments with respect to park operations. And he wears military or something that is akin to military uniform at the moment. As a matter of fact, every commissioner of police that Lagos has had, if you look at the trajectory, you are talking about Odumosu, Akim Odumosu, or you are talking about those names, Disu, all of those, they were in Lagos, but now they've moved on, been promoted to hold positions in the federal government. They are always answerable to the governor of the state. The governor is the chief security officer of the state. So what we have at this moment is state police. Wike restrained police from arresting, I believe it was a former NNPC executive. All he did was just to take his own army there. And he said, you know what? You cannot arrest this woman. Until date, that woman was not arrested. So in as much as we've got the governors controlling effectively, I'm yet to see any state where the governor disapproves of the commissioner of police. Lagos State had RRS, we had Operation Sweep, we still have the governor's monitoring team at Alasa there. Every governor, and that's the reason why it is easy to rig elections, because all the governors are very powerful. So I don't think we don't have state police at the moment. We've got Amotekun, we have all of this. What we don't have, so state police is not the solution. Anyways, if we want to establish state police, we have to amend the constitution, and constitutional amendments are not a token. The process of amending the constitution in Nigeria is stringent. we'll have to move policing from exclusive list to concurrent list. And that the houses of assembly would even have to approve that. So I do not think that having now saying that, oh, governors are going to control police, I don't think by the mention of that alone that anything will change. Imagine that the governor is officially given the power to run the force of the state. In this kind of society we are, imagine what happens during elections. No opposition party will win anything. Nigeria is not, we are not there yet, and I agree with Dr. Fadile. We are not that kind of society that we can compare ourselves with the United States, where all the states have their own Supreme Courts and all of that. We are not there yet where we can say we have values that we hold there. So state police is not the solution. We have to reflect again. Why do people commit crime? Crime pays in Nigeria. All those in political offices in Nigeria, from the chief of staff, I'll even mention names if you want, from the chief of staff to governors, serving governors in Nigeria, many of them have cases to answer in the United States. But Nigeria is the most forgiving society that I know, where we will not ask questions. They will, where I forget, Undeyin would come with facts to say this one was a drug convict here, this one was this. But then they will hold the highest political offices in our country, and the people will celebrate them. What does it matter if we are talking about people who don't have values, people who should never have come near governance in the first place. So whether we create state police and say, oh, we now have state police, oh, we will get there, that is not the solution. I think that sincerity of purpose, unfortunately, and I agree, it has to be a ground-up approach. The people must get to the point where they are saying, no more. Nigerians will get there. We are not there at the moment, but we will get there. State police is definitely not the answer, sir, in my opinion.
That's very interesting. You know, I would have thought, looking at you, you would have insisted on state police and so on and so forth. So I think that is fresh. But I think what a lot of the governors are saying is that a lot of this Amotekun, this and that, they are self-help. There's no constitutional provision for them, and they are not properly empowered. Not only that, when a governor is helping a commissioner of police, is on the basis of, let me help you. Not on the basis of, this is my responsibility, or blah, blah, blah. Or sometimes you even need the approval of the IGP to do certain things and get something. And then, even though they may influence the commissioner of police that is serving under them, those people come and go at the will of the IGP. And then the police that are seconded to any state is also at the behest of the IGP. And some of them may not even have local area information. I think these are the things that they're saying about state police and wanting to manage or run their own state police matters.
Oh, well, sir, if I'm supposed to respond to that, I asked the question, how does policing stop crime? I don't understand it. Okay, so you have cars donated by Dangote, Lagos State. In fact, the very first thing that Ambode did when he came into government was to spend about 4 billion on security. How did that stop us having area boys on the streets? How does it stop young people on drugs on the streets? People will continue to commit crime when the government doesn't show what being a citizen is. We are in a country where we celebrate thieves. It's what it is at the moment. We're in a country where we celebrate thieves. Even I am sitting here and I'm saying this in the afternoon here. You don't know whether I represent a criminal network that is fleecing Nigerians. You have no idea. No policeman can do nothing. What is happening to Abba Kyari at the moment? Somebody who is supposed to be one of the best cops in Nigeria, as far as we're concerned, with gargantuan allegations against him of collecting bribes. What does it matter if we even recruit everybody into the police force? What does it matter if the governor is in control of the security infrastructure? We forget that governors have an unaccounted budget for security. They call it security votes. Forever and ever in Nigeria, nothing touches that security vote. They spend it as they like. So why haven't they used that to beef up the security? I'll give you an example. So I think that resolving or putting an end to crime in Nigeria, we should be talking about prevention, not only to say we are necessarily going to put powers, additional powers in the hands of people. I sat at a private discussion with former governor of Ogun State, and he said something good, and I'm going to say exactly what he said. Gbenga Daniel. And we were in his office. It was at the twilight of when he left office, and everybody was going after him, law enforcement agencies. And Gbenga Daniel said, as governor of the state, I had a book where I wrote how I spent my security votes. He said, I have a book. And inside the book, everybody who comes for one problem or the other, I give them money from it. Gbenga Daniel said, I give churches donations from security votes and I write it. And he said, how do I justify it? It is because when I give them those monies, I expect that they prevent crime. I can tell anybody, getting people to be spiritual can even prevent crime. And I agree with that 100%. But you are talking about creating state police when I see the governor of my state is driving a convoy, when I see the president of the country driving in long convoys, when I hear that they've gone to Dubai today, they are going to Morocco tomorrow. If you like, let the army, which is what is happening. Once upon a time, the best of Nigerian army were conducting ECOWAS operations. That's where we were using the army. Now, individuals go to army bases and kidnap soldiers. They kill soldiers. They infiltrate the armory. So I don't know what else you want to give policemen. I don't know what else. Some of the best guns in the world, AK-47, that is what the policemen carry. So what does it matter if you increase powers to policing? How about social welfare? Introducing a social welfare enterprise where we can start to appreciate values and reward good values. If we start with that, the area boys on the streets will tell you, Tinubu drove in a long convoy to Lagos Island, and they said, which means that everybody is complaining. Wasiu Ayinde, who is the song's person, said, Tinubu, are you hearing? They know. The street boys are just saying it's their reaction to the system of government or the style of governance we have. Crime is a reaction to the kind of government you have. On the streets in United Kingdom, that I know of very well, if you know that you are in a system that works, you reduce crime to a degree because you know you can get on the bus. These facilities are available. But in Nigeria, it is steal everything and then say you are helping people. The banks, we are talking about bank MDs, are talking about corruption in Nigeria. It didn't start today. Nigeria had absolutely no business in the recession of 2007. These banks perpetrated it. They set up foundations after they've taken away all the money, and we celebrate them and say, so foundation. Those who have been the conduit, but start to go after them. Start to say, you know what, you are going to be held accountable for what you have done. Everybody will fall into line. That is what Tinubu can do. That is what I think he has capacity to do. I don't know whether he has the will to do it. So I am big on preventing crimes. It's important also to be able to empower, but prevent crime. Look at Police College in Ikeja. It is still there. The policemen live in barracks. What schools do their children attend? So if you like, recruit a billion policemen with that kind of condition of service, it's not going to solve anything. We have to put the right values in place, and it is a way of life. That's how to prevent crime. If you like, put all the drones out there, we'll buy the judges, we'll hire senior advocates, we buy the judges, and then what? Those are my thoughts, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Let's go to Comrade Frederick. I think Comrade Frederick has his hand up, and he has one or two questions or comments to make.
Thank you very much, sir. I just want to comment very briefly on three topics which I've raised there: security, election, and food. I want to start with elections. Now, the government is linking our national identification numbers name with our SIM cards. This is the time for the government to link also with our voters' cards. so that Nigerians can vote with their mobile phones from the convenience of their homes without meeting the MSO Oluomos or ballot paper, ballot box snatchers. This is the time that we need electronic voting, and it will also save costs. The president should not have the power to appoint the chairman of INEC. Rather, the National Judicial Council should be able to nominate somebody that should be approved by the Senate. He who pays the piper dictates the tune. Now, talking about food, if Nigeria can shamelessly beg or turn Ukraine for food, we should be courageous enough to beg the United States or America or Russia to practically help us to bombard terrorists from our forest. We cannot be begging for food. Nigeria is too blessed to beg, to borrow, or to be hungry. If you smoke out the terrorists from our forest, let every farmer go back to their forest, and the National Assembly should move to setting up or establishing productive laws. For example, if we have the 774 local government areas in Nigeria, making it mandatory that you must have at least 100 hectares of farms. Before you know it, you will suffocate the country with excess food. Food security is national security. Apart from the food, this agriculture will also provide employment for the people. So that is something about food. You will know when this issue of Fulani herdsmen started, they started killing people from village, in their villages, in their farms. So people are not scared of going to their farm. So this thing has been a long-term agenda, you know. So this is the situation that I see there. Smoke these people out of our farms. Talking about security, I believe that the lack of the political will of the Tinubus and the Buharis of today are the problems that we have in Nigeria. Because I do not want to believe that Okada riding terrorists can overwhelm a country that have more than 12 Tucano fighter jets and other military gadgets. I don't want to believe that. A government that cannot smoke out terrorists within, I am a military scientist, that is my job. A government that cannot smoke out these terrorists within 19 days should go back to kindergarten. Because to be called the chief security officer, commander-in-chief of the armed forces, it means that you have power over land, air, and sea. If you cannot use it, don't contest elections. Now, you also remember that in September 2021, the government of the United Arab Emirates named 6 sponsors of terrorism in Nigeria, 6 Nigerians. The US sanctioned these people, but till date, neither Buhari nor Tinubu prosecuted these people. These people are still funding terrorism till date. When you have a Zamfara governor or government telling you that our past governor, who is Bello Matawale, the current Minister of State for Defense, was a sponsor of terrorism, and you still keep him there, it is because he donated money for your elections. Therefore, you don't have the political will to change him. That cannot be happening in a country like Nigeria. So, one of us here talked about the monthly security votes. Thank you for mentioning that. State governors receive huge amounts of money every month for security votes. What are they doing with the money? I am from Delta State. My government receives 2 billion naira every month. 2 billion. Yet in my village where I come from, at least 20 people have been killed by herdsmen, strangers from other countries, from other states, coming to our village to kill our people, rape women in their farms. So the National Security Advisor must have the power to monitor every security vote received by state governors. Remember that Theodore Oji, former governor of Abia State, was paying his 500 million naira every month security vote to his private account. And at the end of 8 years, it came up to 48 billion. That man left governor and became a senator, making laws for us. And when he was asked, he said that he gave the money to this and that, so to speak. Finally, I want to say that every state in Nigeria should have at least 12 drones. We have we have what we call Predator B, which in Naira today is about 7 billion. Predator B is an unmanned area surveillance, and it can go destroy, come back to location. That is 6 billion. You can buy even 36 in every state. And you don't even need to use manpower, because Dr. Fadile talked about manpower. They just go, they hit, they come back. During the time of Donald Trump, when they hit the army general of Iran, who was in Iraq, Qasem Soleimani, it was it was this Predator B that they used. Nobody went there. They hit their convoy and they came back to base. These are the type of things we should be talking about. And it is only a country with leaders with the political will that can do all of this. Now, you also record that during Buhari's time, I remember very well that the governor of Plateau State complained that he tried to buy some drones, but the end user certificate was not signed by the National Security Advisor. That is, you don't have the power to use it. Every state governor should have the power to use the end user certificate. So in all of this, what we need is the political will. And this, then finally, let me just say finally, for those of us who pray, please don't give up. Some people will tell you, oh, prayers don't work and all that. God can use hunger to answer the prayer of a weak people. In the hunger we have today in Nigeria, to my own interpretation, I might be wrong, it might be God's own instrument, because hunger is going to unite Nigerians. Hunger does not know tribe or religion. We are going to be united in hunger. And at the end, if it ends up in a revolution, then we're on the way to resetting our country. Thank you.
Okay. Jolly good. Thank you very, very much for all those kind comments. Maybe I should hand over to Jumoke now to take the rest of the Q&A session.
Okay. Yes, good evening, everyone. May we have Mr. Bayo? Mr. Bayo, please go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question or your comment.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Florette, Pastor. I think mine is really not a question.
Florette.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I listened to your speech yesterday at the tribute night to Abatuigi, and it was really powerful and insightful. Comforting also. Thank you, sir. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I think my comment would be that we need more voices speaking at this time. And the truth is tiring, but people should not relent. People with voices are loud. I'm talking of, personalities that are up there, because the truth is Nigerians are hungry. They are speaking, but they don't have voices. People cannot hear. And the only tools Nigerians are using now, which are mainly the youth, is the social media, which is also not powerful enough. So I think that we need to have a rise of community leaders, nationalists, and the truth is we cannot have enough activists. People must continue to rise. I mean, people who are empowered, who are comfortable enough to feed themselves. People who cannot be bought, they must continue to speak up, because a lot of things have gone wrong, and keeping quiet is not going to be in favor of the people. And I see that we have more people, in power, leaders, aligning more with the politicians, than with the people. And this is very bad, because the truth is Nigerians need people to speak for them. They need leaders. And we can see from, the past, from 2022, what has happened period before the election and even after the elections, that we are having people who are aligning with some people. I don't want to call names, just because of what they think they represent. And we must have these personalities. We have people who are speaking already. We have people like Bishop Matthew Kuka, who is speaking consistently, who is unrelenting, who is consistent, who is undaunted, who is coherent. The thing is, we have people who are speaking, but sometimes they are not coherent. They are not coherent. They are not standing at the points. They are wavering here and there based on people buying them. And once we have this and the politicians begin to see that they can't just do anything and get away with it. And we have people who are saying, this is the will of God. Let them go in. And the truth is, we can't have thieves, in power and pray that they do well. It's not possible. We can't have criminals handling our resources and pray that they don't steal them. It's better we have the right people there than praying that the thieves that are in power do not steal our resources. So my comment is that we must continue to have people who are speaking up and speaking loudly, also using platforms that they have, using resources that they have, using media, using everything that they've got to tell the politicians that they must and they have to align with people. Another thing that I'm seeing that is a trend coming up is the fact that we see politicians causing division amongst the people, and it's always a loss for the people when there's division, because these same politicians align with whatever region they need to align with to steal our resources. You see the Igbos, the Hausas, the Fulanis, the Kanuris, the Fufudes coming together to see the resources, but they are telling the people, no, you can't be united. You can't come together because this man is not your person. He's a Fulani person causing division. It's a loss for the people and a win for the evil politicians who are stealing the resources. And we see that happening in Lagos. We see that happening in the East. We see that happening everywhere. We need voices to speak up now before things escalate and say that no matter who these people are, we have the same blood flowing in our veins. We must be aligned and we must stay together as one. We must have politicians who are coming up to say that these people matter, voice of the people matter. We see politicians going abroad, getting treatment. We see politicians taking half or more than half of the police force to themselves as security. Who are speaking up about it? Who are those saying something about it? Or do we wait until things get out of hands and before we start praying and saying that God should intervene? God has given us power, I believe. God has given us power. God has given us voices, and we must use them for the people. Thank you so much.
Thank you for those excellent points. I particularly liked what you said when you said we can't have thieves overseeing our natural resources and then pray for them not to steal. So thank you. Those are very powerful points. Can I now have Mr. Abiola, I think Abiola has dropped his hand or her hand. And then may I have Charles? King Charles, please go ahead and unmute yourself, and then we'll have Pastor Olu Victor with your comments. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Queen Jet. Very a great comment from what I heard. Some of this may already have been addressed, but since I came in late, I hope I'm not repeating what has already been said. It's very interesting. I want to address the question of electronic voting for starters. I think that those who ask for electronic voting, I don't know what form of how they want to accomplish that. I think I heard brother Frederick say people vote with mobile phones. Here is the challenge. I mean, we know how well mobile phones work in Nigeria. Great countries like the United States, for example, they still do not have a full-fledged electronic voting, yet they have all the technology in the world to support such an act. However, they know some of the inherent problems. If we, as a country, really want to implement something like electronic voting, we should go and study what India is doing. I think India has done some good job in terms of electronic voting, where they actually go out and meet the people and get them to vote electronically. It's a good concept. It's an interesting one. With the story of the BVAS and electronic voting and the half-hearted implementation of electronic systems in the last election, I think is still very fresh in the minds of people. And so we can't get away from the old reliable paper voting. Electronically, you don't even know who's sitting behind the mask and voting. So something that needs to be thought about very carefully. I think that a structural change needs to take place in Nigeria. There's no question about that. I mean, if you look at the You look at the screen right now, look at the people who are conversing and having this conversation. Most of us are from the southern part of the country, where our brethren from the north. Do we have a common agenda? Are we talking about what brings us together as a people? Until we start to align and start to strive for a common purpose, I think we still have a long way to go. We don't have functional school systems. We don't have good roads. I mean, and all these are well documented. I mean, the question of corruption, I mean, you don't even have to talk about that anymore, because even 18-year-olds are as corrupt as the next person. And so we need to really ask ourselves, what kind of country do we want to become? You know, what type of human beings? I mean, there's a lot of wickedness in our country. I mean, we can't hide away from that. We can't shy away from that. I mean, with all due respect to our clergy, it's unfortunate how they don't seem to address these issues. Maybe some of them do, but for the most part, it doesn't seem like many are. It doesn't seem like many are actually addressing the evil in our culture, the evil in our society, the evil in our government and government, all the government houses. Brother Frederick talked about how many billion naira do you say your governor gets every month? How much of that goes to the people? I mean, that's just insane that there is so much money in the country, but the people are still suffering. The people are still hungry. People have no food to eat in a country like Nigeria after 63 years of independence. It's a shame. Now, I don't know how many of you have seen the recent video by Kingsley Moghalu, where he was recommending some of the economic solutions for the country. If you have not, maybe if you get a hand on it, I would suggest you listen to it and really say, where are we going? What do we want to be? I would take a different approach to what I heard my brother Laika was saying about the governor of one of the states. I don't remember the state now. Gbega Daniel, that was giving money to church people. I mean, if you are going to be distributing money that is meant for security to individuals, then all I can say to that is you really don't have a plan for security. If you have a plan for a security system in your state, you don't give it to church pastors. Yes, they might be able to talk to the area boys and convince them not to do X, Y, Z. But if you really want to have a successful security system in your state, you start from the security forces that are supposed to be taking care of security for your state. In other words, make sure the police people are paid, policemen and women are well paid, so they don't have to resort to taking bribes. Make sure that they have the vehicles that they need, so that they don't have to be handicapped when they are dealing with armed robbers. Make sure they have the uniform that they need. Make sure they have the guns they need. Make sure they have the infrastructure that they need so that they can communicate clearly with each other. I mean, we have examples, successful examples all over the world. We don't have to recreate anything. Let's study what countries that have done these things very well. Let's study what they have done and how we can do similar things in Nigeria. There's enough money in that country to make it a better country. But right now, that money is in the hands of very few corrupt, wicked, evil people. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those comments. Can I have Pastor Lou Victor? And we are going to be coming to a close, so we'll take the last two hands, and then we have a couple of comments in the chat room that we would read. Please go ahead, Pastor Lou.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening once again, and I would like to thank everyone for their comments this evening. And my today's discussion is that Nigerians are the problems of Nigeria. Why did I say this? Because we have been allowing our leaders to go away with anything that they do to us. And until we say no, we will not accept it again. They will keep riding roughshod over us. And that is why we need to really, really come together and ensure that we let them know that whatever they are doing that is not good is not good. Sometimes ago, when General Sani Abacha was the head of state of this country, he said that any insurrection or any riot or any insurgency that is more than 72 hours in any country, that the president or the military people of that country are culpable. And that is what is going on in this country. Boko Haram is still existing today because those people in power, those people in government, they know about it. And they are using it as a form of, as a way of siphoning our resources. The militaries are making money out of it. The people in government are voting money against it. And they are using it to siphon our money from the treasury. So if they really want the problem to be solved, this is what they can nip in the bud within 1 month, if they really want to do it. Also, talking about governors and security votes, I think it's only in Nigeria that you give security votes on a monthly basis without any accountability. The security votes that you give to the governors in Nigeria, you are just empowering them to be more corrupt. Because with this security vote, they do whatever. Even without the security vote, the money they receive on a monthly basis, nobody is asking them. The 2-kilometer route that you built for 3 billion naira, why is it that you are building for 3 billion naira? Nobody is doing a forensic audit on whatever they say they have spent. The budget that they read to us at the beginning of every year, nobody wants to review it to know whether they perform on it or not. Nobody wants to know how much money were they able to save, or how much money were they able to spend during this budget year. Were they able to implement everything that they outlined to implement? And at the end of the year, the following year, they will budget for the same thing, especially Aso Rock. They will say they are repairing the clinic, they are upgrading this, they are upgrading that. Do they buy laptop every year? They buy equipment every year. And nobody is asking them all these questions until Nigerians begin to ask questions. But before you implement another year's budget, give an account of what you have used the last budget for. People do it in offices. When you give an impress, before you can request for another one, you have to retire the former impress that you have collected. But because this is Nigeria and anything goes, we allow them to do whatever they want to do. And I want to say again that our military personnel and our police officers are very well trained. And whenever they participate in any international program where there is equity, there is justice, and there's transparency, they usually excel. They give them laurels and medals that they have performed exceptionally. But why is it that when they come to this country, they can't police, they can't guide, they can't protect, they can't do anything? Why? Because there is no rule of law, there is no justice, and there is no discipline, there is no repercussion for anyone that commits an offense in this country. So like Yinka was saying, policing itself does not stop crime. It is the deterrent that if I commit this crime, will I be found out? And if I was found out, will I be brought to book? That is what makes people to run away from committing crime. Because if you know there is a deterrent and there is all possibility that you'll be found out in this crime that you are committing, that is why they put CCTV and cameras all over the place in those countries that are well advanced. And they monitor them. It might take them 15, 20 years to prosecute a case, but they will be at it. Look at what has happened to the lady that stole the money, that took the palliative money for whatever reason. Nobody is talking about it again. We have moved on. So many issues. The guy that took the pensioners' money, nobody is talking about it again. They told them to come and do plea bargaining, which is not which is not commensurate to what they have stolen. They are doing plea bargaining of 500 million, and you have stolen about 1 trillion or 2 trillion naira. So who does that, and who allows all those such things to happen? So until there is a rule of law, there is proper discipline, there is proper repercussion for anything that any offense that anyone commits in this country, we might still be where we are in the next few years. So my take on this matter conclusively is that we should allow the rule of law to take root in Nigeria. There should be justice. We should allow justice to take place. The justice system should be sanitized. Once the justice system is sanitized, every other thing we take key from there. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Pastor Lu, and for those very powerful comments and passionate comments. And I think it's something, comments that we all should take to heart. May I have Juliet? And these are the last two hands we're going to take for the evening. If I could have Juliet, please unmute yourself. And then I'll have Baxter. Your name is showing here as Baxter. I have two more hands came up. Juliet, please go ahead and ask your question or make your comment.
Okay, thank you, Jumoke. Good evening, the amiable president, ALG, my president. What I have to say here is just to encourage you and your team for the remarkable job you all are doing. I have learned a lot here, courtesy of you. Please keep up the good work and I believe that the government are listening, and by the help of God, Nigeria will be great again. The situation of this country has gone sour. The economy has become so bad to the extent Ukraine, that is at war, is giving Nigeria aid, and we are collecting it, which is so bad. Now, somebody is talking about human resources. Nigeria, we are blessed. Nigeria, we are blessed with capable human resources, but because the government neglects them, so they are leaving. We have lots of them. Even our president here is an economist. So what are the government doing? Why are they not looking into these people? But no, until this set of people that are recycling themselves, imposing themselves on us, leaves office, Nigeria, I'm not sure if this country will be better. Until they leave, then we have fresh people, fresh set of group of people that have the interests of this country at heart. I believe that's when Nigeria will be better. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. If I could have Baxter, please. The name is showing here as Baxter. Please go ahead and unmute yourself and share your comments, and then we'll take the last hand, which is Baxter, please go ahead. And then we have Emmanuel. That'll be the last hand we'll take. Baxter, please go ahead with your comments or questions. Okay. If we don't have him, can we have Emmanuel? Emmanuel, please go ahead with your comments or questions. Or mute yourself, please. Okay, go ahead, Emmanuel, you're muted. We can't hear you. Okay. I don't know, there might be something wrong with your audio.
Darling,
Okay.
I appreciate him so much because where we are in this country, it's only advocacy that can get us to where we ought to be. Keeping quiet, that time is over. We must speak. I recall way back when the government of IBB annulled the June 12th election. Now, that advocacy continued till Obasanjo became president in 1999. The people, some of them are players today, they kept writing, they kept talking about that injustice. So we must continue this. So Pastor, I thank you so much. The second thing I want to say is this. Somebody said that, oh, the problems we have today started way back. True, it's possible, it's true. However, it is the responsibility of any government to look for the root causes of our problem to try to solve it. All this while, we have not had people, apart from maybe the regime of Obasanjo, that actually went to some root causes to solve problems. You see, today, it is not a joke when people say Nigerians are hungry. It is true. I operate now in the private sector. I have a farm, and I have over 200 people that work in the farm. I meet them on a daily basis. I see how tough things are. So things are truly tough. And the government of the day, some of the panaceas they seem to be putting in place, for me, appear to be trial and error. Okay, a country where, for instance, that is a mono economy, has just a singular product that funds its businesses, mortgages that same product to borrow 3 billion naira for the next 15 years. I wonder how that country will survive. So we must continue to speak about this. Moghalu, I listened to the Moghalu's tape. Somebody made reference to it. Yes, he said something that we should go to IMF to take 30 trillion and so on. Where I don't agree with him is the IMF. This country has enough for us to fund those little things that we need, like food. So the government of the day must be seen to encourage production. Small and medium-scale businesses must be identified and encouraged to do the business. The businesses are folding up. And if it continues, I'm afraid we may be heading down the path of Venezuela. So this advocacy must continue. It doesn't matter whether people, our brothers from the north don't join us. Eventually they will. They may belong to other platforms as well. But we must continue this advocacy. We must continue to speak truth to power. So I thank you for this opportunity, and I will be joining this platform more, and I'll be making comments more. Thank you so much, Pastor, and thank you for everyone that has commented. God bless everybody.
Thank you very much, sir. It's the same Zoom link every Thursday and the same time. So we look forward, and I also put a link in the chat room if you would like to get more information about ALG and how to be more engaged. There's a link there that we would like you to complete so that we can have your contact information. So we are going to take the last comment from Baxter, and then I have our closing remarks from Mr. President. I also have a couple of comments that I would like to share. So please go ahead, Baxter, with your comments.
Okay, thank you so much. This is Charles Ekane. Thank you, Pastor, and everyone. My contribution is coming from the comment on the chat. We have been praying over the years, and I don't dispute prayers, but where we pray and we work less, even Christ was walking and also praying. Noah was walking and also praying. He didn't just pray for the act to be formed. He prayed and walked. So, and we see currently, you see most people spending more time in church. You call somebody by 4 p.m. Oh, sorry, on my way to the church. And then when we continue with this attitude, we create rooms for the outsiders to dominate our frontiers. Cubans was going through a tough time. I believe they prayed, but they worked more in unity, and they were able to come out. Look at what is happening in Rwanda. So it's good to pray, but should we put more emphasis on prayer?
Well, I can write it down.
Okay.
So
Go ahead, Mr. Charles. Please go ahead and unmute yourself. We're trying to get rid of interference. Please go ahead.
Okay. So we need to change the narratives. People should be able to know when to pray and when to walk, because without work, prayer cannot be effective. So, and then secondly, we should also pass the message where people should be able to take accountability, where we should be able to come together. And I also noticed that in our community, we don't identify the need. We just start to preach. Even in Bible context, we talk about prayer. Christ will look at what is the immediate problem. These people are hungry. He fed them before he preached. But in our own scenario, is the opposite. He will check, these people are sick. He didn't just start preaching. He healed them before the message. So with the current situation, it requires a holistic approach where we really need to come together and say, what is the major problem? How do we solve it? Who do we work with? We have to keep on pushing relentlessly and collaborating beyond tribes and religion, and then we'll be able to conquer. That is my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. And I just want to lend my voice to a couple of the comments. But before I do that, we talk about the politicians as the leaders. But I just want to give a definition of what a leader is. I want to read that. In general, the role of a leader is to coach, guide, and inspire others. They motivate teams through challenging times and guide individuals through their career progression. A leader manages individuals to keep teams aligned and working towards shared goals. They foster a collaborative culture and lead by example. And the reason I read this definition is because we keep calling this rulers, leaders, and maybe we need to really understand that they're not leading us. So by that, they're not leaders, they're rulers. So if we start to understand their role, maybe we would treat them differently. Maybe we would also address our issues differently, to know that the affairs of the country are not in the hands of the people that are leading for the common good and common purpose. Mr. President started his comment. The opening comment was the Nigerian conversation and the need to heal based on the conversation from last week. And I think that's something we really need to look at. There's a lot that has happened that has divided us as tribes along ethnic lines, along religious lines, but we are Nigerians, we're one Nigeria. So how do we come back to that center? How do we begin to align ourselves for the common good of Nigeria? Because without that alignment, everything we're doing is not going to really hold. So that should be one of the things we should start talking about. Have we healed from some of the challenges I'm trying not to use the word crimes or some of the trauma that was inflicted on some of us? Have we looked at that, or we've just swept it under the carpet? Is this part of what is causing us to be disunited? So maybe this is time for us to take a critical look at ourselves, what we are grieved about, and start having conversations for healing. I also know Mr. President has talked about forgiveness, National Day of Forgiveness, reconciliation, those conversations. So let's, in our individual capacity, let's start looking at our role. How do we facilitate reconciliation and forgiveness? Are you also a perpetrator of tribalism or religious bigotry? So we can start making those changes. Pastor Olu said, and he said Nigerians we are the problem, and I would agree with that, because we've been talking about these so-called rulers for how many years, and it's the same, it's cycle, but no matter who goes in there, something happens. So is it we as a people that need to change our orientation? Is it we need to change some of the values that we are now holding so dear that is not helping us? I'm just putting this out there for us to take a critical look at what we as individuals can do, because that's what we have control over. What I, Jumoke, can do, what you, Charles, can do as an individual. Pastor Itua is doing what he's doing. He's advocating and bringing everybody to start speaking truth to power. Imagine if more of us get involved in this conversation that is about nation building. If we really roll up our sleeves and start to take practical steps to take back the country through advocacy, as Mr. Emmanuel said. So that's just my comment. It's great to have this conversation, and we're always so glad to have everyone's comments. But now we need action. We need to start putting plans together. And we put out this form every week, call to action. There's a lot that we're doing at ALG, and we need more people involved. We need your intellectual capacity. We need your resources to join this effort for us to continue to amplify our voices on this new Nigeria that we want, to unite us and to bring about reconciliation. So that's my comment, and I thank you everyone for joining us. I'm going to hand over to Mr. President, but before I do that, I know Dr. Aluya was on. He's one of the diasporans that are really doing remarkable things. He's been on this Nigerian agenda for many, many years. So I would have him have a comment. Dr. Aluya, if you could just comment and keep it short, we would really appreciate that. And I would hand over to Mr. President. Thank you, everyone, and have a good evening.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you for giving me the opportunity, despite the fact that you were rounding up. First, I must say thank you and thank Pastor Itua for putting this platform together. And for each and every one of you, wherever you are in different parts of the world, for finding the time to be on here. Like I always say, you find time for the things that are important to you. I would not overstress anything. Everything has been said. The beautiful thing with Nigerians is that we know what our problems are. We really do know them. The question is, do we have solutions? And that's what this platform is set about to do. Now that we're here, we've heard people talk and giving solutions and all that. But two things that we're actually looking for is settling and providing solutions to our problem. One, people with capacity. Two, and trust. Do we have the capacity? Do we have the trust for leadership? And I'm glad, Sister Jumoke defined what leadership is. And I've always said those guys are not leaders, they're rulers. And that's because we inherited a platform and a system that requires leadership. But what we inherited and brought into this space, our political space, are rulers. And there are multiple reasons for that. So I will close by saying this. Now that we've done this, please link up with each individual who you feel that has spoken to your spirit and to your heart right now. Link up with each and every one there so that we can continue the conversation and begin to provide solutions. I have linked up to a few of them already, and some of them have sent me messages already. And we'll begin to link up. And that's what we need to do. And I thank you and God bless you all.
Thank you so much. And congratulations on all the recognitions and awards that you're getting in the US for your community service and for all that you do to continue to promote the positive image of Nigeria. We appreciate you. We're proud of the work that you're doing. Well done. And thank you. Over to you, Mr. President.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. We've had quite an interesting open discussion today. We thank God for everything. We thank God for the progress that the ALG is making. I'm very excited, especially with our community development program and our youth engagement and the great things that we're doing with the NYSC. We've made some critical inroads into the NYSC, and they are now beginning to work with us to talk to quite a lot of our youth. So we look forward to very, very exciting things. And once again, just to thank everybody in the back office, Olu, Victor, Sister Jumoke, Pastor Tayo, Pastor Sonny, Faye, Otaji, Joan, Professor Grange, Albert Name and his team doing an awesome job in the back office, developing the mentorship series. Also, we're soon going to be doing our trainings very well, and also we're going to be doing our diaspora engagement. So we're really set to go, and we're excited about it. Tomorrow is International Women's Day, tomorrow the 8th of March. And I want to give a shout out to all the wonderful women in the world. I congratulate you. I ask that the Lord will continue to strengthen and surprise you, that the Lord will bless you, that you'll be wonderful wives, amazing husbands.
It's International Women's Day.
Wonderful mothers to incredible children out there. But I want to salute tonight a very, very great woman, Chizoba, who lost her life with her husband, Herbert Wigwe, on the 9th of February, leaving behind 4 wonderful children. I pray that the Lord will strengthen them, the Lord will bless them, the Lord will look after them. And of course, commiserations to my sister, Titi Ogubanjo, who also lost her husband recently. Also, Kate Henshaw, a wonderful woman who lost her mother, and so on and so forth. Olu Victor lost his mother also. So you all can give him a shout out and wish him very well. And all those who need comforting, the Lord will comfort you. And Jumoke also, her friend, Kemi Forsyth, lost her mother, and so on and so forth. We'd like to also remember Dr. Ameyo Adadevo, who also was a great woman who did really, really mighty things. It's actually Ameyo Adadevo Cardoso. She was Mrs. Cardoso, married to one of my brothers, one of the Cardoso brothers. I want the Lord Almighty to bless them, bless her family, her son, that she left behind. Bankole Cardoso is also my son, that the Lord will look after every single one of them. So I shout out to our women. It's going to be great, it's going to be wonderful. Take your place. Don't let any of these men intimidate you. What a man can do. I'm a proponent to say a woman can do better. But also to ask our women not to get carried away. Some of them in places of power have not behaved appropriately, or they are accused of not behaving appropriately. In those days, we used to think that if you put a woman in charge, you can go to sleep. These days, it's looking like not so. Please let us hold firm to that faith, and let men also begin to behave themselves appropriately. Let us have a good, wonderful, clean, beautiful, exciting, reliable, and trustworthy Nigeria. We need a Nigeria of our dreams, Also, I want to thank and recognize all the youth corpers who are on our platform today. We have an open invitation to be part of our platform, to join us, to do great and mighty things. We hope that we'll be able to influence them positively, and they're the leaders and rulers and the politicians of tomorrow. Nigeria belongs to them, and I'm sure that they're going to make something great out of Nigeria. Also, General Tony Atolagbe, I'm told you on the platform. God bless you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for everything that you do. Shout out to my brother Herbert's mother and his father, and also Doreen's mother. I pray that God will comfort every one of us. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for the people who spoke. Professor Drosimieti, I appreciate you very much. You have become one of my favorite people. Also, Mr. Fadile, thank you for your insight and your contributions. My son, I thank you so much for everything and always rising up when occasion demands. You sound like a King's College boy. When the scholars shouted, sounded almost answered, here! Voice and bearing showing neither shame nor fear. Thank you all for being on the platform. Those who to comments and questions. We appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your evening and enjoy the rest of your lives. God bless you. I remain Itwa Igodalo. But I'm going to show you quickly, before we close, the video of Kingsley Moghalu, also a brother of mine, and tell you what he said, and then we'll find a time to discuss that. Bless you.
Other people to come, and I think the rest is history. So let me go into my keynote remarks this morning, and our subject is Nigeria's distressed economy. Which way forward? That is the topic of the moment. And let me begin by saying, let me get my watch out so that I can time myself. So I want to begin by saying that every choice we make has consequences. But we have no choice over the combined consequences of the choices we have made. I want us to let that sink in for a minute. Every choice that we make has consequences, but we have no choice over the combined consequences of the choices that we have made. Nigeria's economy today is, to use the title of the classic novel by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. That novel was called The Chronicle of a Death Foretold. Chronicle of a Death Foretold. The question is, will there be a resurrection? I believe so, but only if we fix the fundamentals. There is nothing that is happening today. The hyperinflation, the crisis of the value of the naira, debt distress and revenue challenge, unemployment, extreme poverty, etc., that should surprise any thinking citizen or professional observer of how our country's economy has been mismanaged for a very long time. Choices have consequences, and we should not be surprised that there is hunger and anger in the land today. The past 10 years were particularly ruinous. They were the years of the locust, marked by unprecedented mismanagement of fiscal policy, unproductive external borrowing, unnecessary budget deficits, illegal ways and means lending by the Central Bank of Nigeria to the federal government to the tune of 30 trillion naira, and unprecedented corruption. Many of these things happened because, as we witnessed, there was a successful political assault on the independence of the Central Bank of Nigeria, with the storekeeper willingly handing over the keys to the store to the marauders. We are in a crisis today, ladies and gentlemen. Regardless of whatever short-term measures that are taken and the success of those measures or the lack of it, this crisis and its effects will last for at least 3 to 5 years. Don't be deceived. We're not getting out of this tomorrow. We may see some success tomorrow morning, we may see some setbacks, but the crisis is so fundamental that its effects will be with us for some few years to come at the very least. Now, we must not waste the present economic crisis. That's my view. This crisis must not be wasted. We mustn't let it become like every other crisis we have, and we keep going from crisis to crisis. The question we have to answer today, when will we address the fundamentals that ail the Nigerian economy? There is no better time than now in a time of crisis. So as we try to get out of the crisis, let us address the root causes of our crisis so that we do not have these kinds of crises again. I think that that is the best response that we could possibly have to this crisis. I maintain my position, which is a matter of record, that the decisions to remove the petrol subsidy and forex subsidy were bold decisions and were correct. We have lived a lie for 40 years, and the chickens have come home to roost. Given the country's revenue challenges in the crude oil production and export sector, Nigeria could no longer afford to subsidize the importation of refined petrol, at least fully, and could no longer afford to defend the value of the naira artificially. We simply did not have and do not have the foreign reserves to continue to do that.
We are done with the video, sir.
Well, thank you all very much. If you want to see the rest of that interview, you can go to the YouTube page and you'll enjoy it. All right. God bless you all. Good night. Have a very lovely evening. God bless you.
Good night, everyone. Bye.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you. Thank you. God
Good
bless
night.
you all.
Thank you.
See you again next week.
Good night. Good night.